remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space. And when you're out there without care, yeah, I was out of touch. But it wasn't because I didn't know enough. I just knew too much. Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Possibly. And I hope that you are having the time of your life. But think twice. That's my only advice. Come on now, who do you think you are? Bless your soul. That you're in control. Well, I think you're crazy. I think you're crazy. I think you're crazy. Just like me. My heroes at the heart.
Morning, everybody.
Hi, Mark.
Hi.
Hello, Mark.
We're live. We're live on YouTube. We're not quite live. We're going to be live soon.
On YouTube?
This is going to go on YouTube. Okay. There's no camera on you, Michael. Don't worry. It's on me. There's one here. Hello, Michael. Okay. So today we are going to try and make a house or speed gauge remix. I need your help to kind of guide me along the way. But we'll talk about some of the stuff that has to be in it, and we'll talk about what you get given to start with. So what's on the screen now is just the a cappella. So if we play that, and it's already, you can see down here, just about, the speed is 112 BPM. That's the original. Okay, so if we listen to it as it is now.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space. And when you're out there without care, yeah, I was out of touch.
Say that again louder.
That's it, like me.
Yes, so that is the original vocal. Okay, so the first really important thing is that to be able to pass on your remixes, it has to include parts of that. Okay, using other people's versions of Crazy is okay, but what it's asking you to do is remix this version. Okay, so that needs to be in there in some way. Now, depending on the style that you do, you don't have to have the whole thing from start to finish. You could cut stuff up, you could just use certain lines, and it really depends where you want to go with the type of music that you're doing. Okay, and I don't know where we're going to go with this one. I'm going to ask you guys what you think you want to do. Okay, so the four things that are on the board, which is the one thing we can't see on the screens, is the things that have to be in your remixes, in both of them. So it has to have a tempo change. It has to have some element of time stretching in it. It has to have some pitch shifting. So to be able to do that, you're going to have to pitch shift elements of this vocal line. And it has to have some audio processing in it. Someone give me an example of audio processing. That's probably one of the easiest ones. Auto-tune, yeah?
Like fine effects.
Yeah, any kind of effects. Reverbs, delays, modulations, it doesn't really matter. Okay? If you are processing the audio in some way, that ticks the box. So if you wanted, if you went down to the insert effects and just put a reverb on it straight away.
Your emotions have an echo in so much space.
That's that box ticked already. Okay? So it can be as simple as that to tick that box. Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah? They can't see you. Say hello.
Yes.
Say yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Nice. Okay. What I want to look at first actually is tempo change. And again, that is easy as long as you have a couple of things ticked. So if you highlight your piece of audio by clicking on it once, it's difficult to see on the screen here, but you will see this in the video. Over here, where you've got the inspector of all the different things that you can change, there is a thing called flex, and you have to tick that box. And what that means is that it is going to follow whatever tempo you put in. So it was at 112, and there's also another tick box here saying complex. So you're making sure flex is ticked, it says polyphonic, and then complex here. And what that means is that when you change the BPM, it will follow it. So this is now at 230 beats per minute.
I remember when I lost my mind. There's something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space.
Morning, all right? We are live, so just so you know, that's fine. Obviously, that's too fast. Okay, that's too fast. But someone give me the kind of ballpark figure, kind of BPM for house or speed garage. What are we looking at?
130.
Yeah, 130 will work. So if we put 130 in, it should sound a little bit easier to kind of like listen to.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place.
If you don't have the flex thing ticked, then it doesn't follow, and that's where you run into issues. So metronome's still on, we're still at 130.
I remember when I lost my mind.
But it's still at its original tempo.
Does that work for any audio you put in?
Yeah.
Like, would that work on Logic 10 as well?
Yeah. So,
I always wanted to have to do that.
okay, there you go. You just learned how to do it. So, any piece of audio, you're right, Anthony, anything, you whack the flex thing on, and generally polyphonic and complex down here. I know it's difficult to see on the screen, but when you see the video, you'll see it nicely. That will then follow the tempo. The important rule is that you have to set your original tempo to what that is, to what the piece of audio is before you start that process. So I had to go and research to make sure that I knew that Niles Barkley Crazy was at 112 beats per minute. If I got that figure wrong, then this flex thing wouldn't work. Does that make sense?
When you put the audio in, you have to make sure it's on the right tempo.
Yeah, or before you press flex. Yes, Jess.
Or if you have multiple pieces of audio that work in different tempos.
Then I would suggest that you manipulate the tempos of those first and then bring them into one project. Yeah, there are other ways of doing it, and I will show you a way to do that as well, kind of later on. But if you've got loads and loads and loads, it might be easy to just manipulate them all individually and then bring them together afterwards. Okay, so tempo change is done. Hooray! We're a quarter of the way there. We haven't done anything yet. Okay, it still won't pass yet, by the way. We haven't put any music on it. So let's say we're at 130. That's fine. I'm happy with that. My recommendation to you guys, and this is for remixing and for composition, is don't start your arrangement at bar 1. Start it a bit later. Because if you start everything at bar 1 and then you get like all the way through it and you put loads of layers and loads of sections and then you go, I wanted to put something at the beginning, it's easier for you to grab everything and move it if you've already started a bit later at say bar 5 or bar 9. You've got that space to allow you to do that. If you do it at bar 1, then you end up having to pull the kind of cursor back and going into minus bars, and then it starts to get really confused. So start your project a bit later, because like with DAW last year, you're going to set the bounce by using the cycle tool, the green bit. So it doesn't matter where it starts or ends, because you're going to set a green thing to say this is the bit I want you to bounce. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah? Okay. Questions? Any questions? Yes, Emily.
Are we going to get logins on the Macs?
Yes.
Is this like a last year situation of yes, so
No.
that won't happen, or are we actually getting it?
It's actually going to happen.
Okay.
Can we make the question specific to this?
Okay, yeah.
Because this is all going into a YouTube video.
Okay.
Yeah? Anything to do with this specifically? Ajit?
The genres that we've been given.
Yes.
Is house and speed garage.
Yes.
Can we do like a twist off house? So like dub house or something like
Yep, absolutely. So any kind of sub-genres within garage or house are fine. And I got sent a really, really cool resource yesterday by an ex-student, which is like a map of genres, which is really, really mad. And when you click on the genre, it plays a little snippet. But if you click on the arrow next to it, it then goes and expands into loads of sub-genres. And then I'm going to give it to you, yeah.
Awesome.
And then it expands into artists as well. So let's say that you've decided you want to do your remix in progressive house style, but you don't know much about it. Go on this little tool, find progressive house, click through, and it will give you like 50 artists that do progressive house. So when you're thinking about referencing material, that's another resource that you can use. It's really, really cool. And it's not just for dance music, it's like everything ever so far, apparently. Yeah? Okay, so that's something that I'll dish out to you before next week, and we can have a quick look at it next week's lesson. Okay, so we're at 130. Any preferences by anybody whether we go house or speed garage? House? Okay. Can anyone, the people that were doing house and the people that were looking at speed garage a few weeks ago, can we think of any differences so that I know that I'm going down the right lines? So speed garage, for instance, how does that differ from house?
Quite grimy.
Can be a bit grimy, yeah? A bit more crude, good. House, I mean, obviously house is a really broad genre with loads of subgenres within it, so it can be quite melodic, it can be quite clever and intricate, but it can also be really minimalist as well, depending on what kind of style you want to go for. What I would also say is there's a lot of garage which is more bouncy, more swung. So when you're looking at quantizing, do you remember last year in DAW we looked at the letters quantizing, so 16A through to F, and the further you went down the alphabet, the more bouncy it got. Yeah. Generally, speed garage is very bouncy, so you're looking at quantizing 16, D, E or F. House, a lot of house is a bit straighter, so 16A, B, maybe C. So that's one of the kind of parameters that I'll put in place now to say I can't quantize 16, D, E or F because it'll end up being a bit too bouncy. Yeah.
Can you do like quantize it into like 16A?
Yeah.
And then do it in like 16F and show us the difference?
Yes, I can.
So like if it changes it.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. Someone tell me what is the first thing that you would make?
Drums.
Okay. Anyone else agree with that? Anyone else start with something different? No? Dead silence. I would start with drums. That's my recommendation to you. Okay. And I would also say that when you're making any kind of electronic music, start with the heaviest section. Start with what the chorus would be, the big bit. Don't worry about where it comes in the song because you can move everything around. So write the big bit first because then it's easier for you to strip those bits out to make verses or the kind of like less prominent sections. So what I would do first, and I'll do it now, is build up all of the elements of a beat that I want to create. Okay? So again, we're in house territory. What is really important in house music? Yeah? Good. Okay. Shout them out, guys. Okay? Very good, Michael. Fall to the floor. So I am going to make a new channel. It's going to be a software instrument.
Do you not have to cut down all the audio first? Like obviously when we done the thing where you assign it to different keys, you cut down all the audio. But
Yeah.
now do you just go with the song and then all that?
For now, I just go with the song. The cutting down of the audio and assigning it to keys, I will go through that in this session, but you don't have to do that to get a pass merit distinction in this module. It's a really cool tool, and I probably will end up using it, but you don't have to do it. Yeah. So
Could you potentially just have the whole vocals and just write music over the top?
yes, you could. But it would have to be when you choose the genre, the subgenre that you're going to use. It has to fit within that. So you have to go and find examples of songs that do that. And there's a lot of house songs where it is vocal all the way through. There's a lot of them.
I'm probably not going to do it, but I was saying.
Yeah.
Have you got to use the whole song or can we sample it?
No, you can use as little or as much as you like.
So you could remix the whole song and you can just take bits of it and put it into a beat sort of thing.
Yep. as long as you can provide examples or references of other songs that do that.
So you have to compare it to another song that does that.
Because the whole point of what we've been doing over the last few weeks is for you to go and research the genres and get a feeling for them. If you just go and make whatever you want, great, you've made a really good remix, but where does it sit? Where does it lie? So it's getting you thinking about who you would pitch it to, where it's relevant, putting it into context. That's the really important bit. Okay. What's got a good kick drum on it? Anybody out of the Ultra Beat kits? No one? Alright, I'll try something, see what we got. Oh, hello. What do we think? Do we like that? Do we not like it?
I like it.
Who doesn't like it? Mike. Hands up if you don't like it. Okay, sorry guys. In the minority. What don't you like about it? Okay, good. That's really good listening skills. It's got a hi-hat in there as well. Jack, similar reasons or? Okay. We'll keep it in, but I'll show you ways that you might be able to get rid of that bit if you don't like that. Obviously there's loads of other bass drums. Okay, so what I would do for now is mute the vocal. So highlight, press M, it goes silvery. Okay, so you're not going to hear that at the moment, and I'm just going to put in 2 or 4 bars of the kick drum. That'll do. What do I need to do next? Okay. Because we're only playing 4, we can quantize that to quarter notes, and it'll be super, super tight. Okay. What else could I do now? Yeah? What can I do with the bass drum before I start adding hi-hats?
Loop it.
Yeah? Anyone remember the shortcut for looping? Nice, thanks Jess. L, as long as it's highlighted, it will loop forever. And we're not going to keep that, but for now, while we're building, it helps us to do stuff. How'd you cut it?
Yeah, for that looks like if you unhighlight it all, we're on balance.
No. That's loops now, that's there for the whole arrangement. But what we'll do later is we'll turn all the loops into real copies and then you can start to edit them. Okay. Hi-hats next. Offbeat hi-hats. It's a bit nasty, isn't it? Like a 909 kind of thing. The nice thing about these is that it's not just a one-shot sample. So if you, depending on how long you hold the key for, is how much you'll get of that sample. And that's a good way of adding a little bit of interest for open hi-hats. If you just had it going, so it's all the same, it might start to get a little bit boring. Whereas if you kind of go, you start to get slightly different variations. It can make it a little bit more live. Okay, so a slightly bigger pattern. Again, only have to quantize to 8ths. At this point, I would turn the metronome off. Anyone know the shortcut for that? That's mute. No? It's K. Press K, it turns the metronome off. Okay, what do I need to do next? Or what should I be doing next, actually?
Quantizing bass.
I've quantized it.
Looping the
Yeah, I can loop that. What haven't I done yet? Really, really important. No?
save it.
Thank you. Save it. I should have saved it after the bass drum really, and I forgot. Shortcut for saving? Not just S. If you press S, it will solo it. Command S, good. Who's that? Shannon, well done. Okay, I'd already named it. I'd already named it Crazy Remix Test. So just by doing Command S, it just saves it instantly. I don't have to save as anymore. All right. I'd put in one more element before we keep moving. Not bass. Snare, or what's the alternative if you're doing house music? Yeah, good.
Well,
Okay, so I'm just like that. Let's go and have a look.
How do
Somewhere
you know where all of the drum patterns are on the keyboard?
they're kind of mapped. So if you get to where what is it, C1 is, C1's going to be a kick drum, D's going to be a snare, E's going to be a snare, then you're going to have toms all the way to B, C actually, D. On the hi-hats are going to be from F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, and then you've got a side stick on C sharp here, and you've got a clap or a hit on D sharp or E flat. Yeah, and then that C sharp above there is generally a crash cymbal, but that's a really nasty one. So that is the general mapping on most kits. So if you get to C1, that's where you're going to find most of the stuff. I'm going to go for, I'm actually going to find the Vintage 09 kit. That's not what I want either. Where's my nice clap? Oh, hello. That's not bad. Got a bit of afters on it as well. That kind of sound. I'm going to turn it down a little bit. Okay, at the moment we're only dealing in 8th notes, so you're not going to hear the swing. But if I start putting some 16th notes in, that's where I can show you what you were talking about. So if I find another hat or a shakery kind of thing. Hello. You are going to be able to do it. Okay, that's pretty straight ahead. If you can't do it at that speed, slow it down. Yeah, doesn't make any difference. We know we need to be at 130, so if you don't want to do it at that speed, you could do it at half time, or you could just slow it down. So slow it down to 90, and then listen to the click. Yeah, quantize it the same, 16s. Speed it back up again.
Is that still on flex?
Doesn't matter, we're not listening to it, but yeah, it is. So that's 16. 16A is going to be pretty similar, to be honest. Let's turn down the hi-hat for a minute. So listen to the 16th notes as I start to bring it up. 16A, B, C, D, E, F, and you'll start to hear it changing, okay? So 16A, 16B, 16C, 16D, 16E, 16F. Yeah, really bouncy. I quite like C. It's got a little bit of something, it's not really rigid. Did everyone hear that? Hear the differences as we kind of move? Some of them quite subtle. Did you hear this between A and F?
Play again.
Yeah, so I'll solo it as well. This is A. This is F. Quite pronounced, isn't it? When you put it in the beat. That's A. So just by changing that through A, B, C, D, E or F, it makes a huge difference to the groove of your track. Okay?
Can you teach us how to, you know some tracks they have like a pitch shift on something like the hi-hats or like an instrument, and it goes like, down, like.
Yeah.
So, into like when the beat's about to drop.
Yeah, like a tape stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, just remind me. It's cool. Come take a seat, Jack. We're kind of recording live, so it's fine. We are making a remix. Oh, crazy. Sorry?
You should write you now and do it to you.
Yeah. Okay, so we've kind of got the basic elements of our beat. Yeah. So where do we go next?
Melody.
Melody. What's in house music? What's the next most important thing apart from the beat?
Bass.
Yeah, the bass. You'd already said it. You'd say wobbles there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you get the kind of the wobbly sound bass as well. Not always. If I'm going to put a bass line on it, what do I need to know?
Key. Vocals.
Need to know the key of the vocals. So I am going to go to the bass next, but before I can do that, I need to work out what key we're in. Okay. So at this point, I'm going to mute all the beat that I've just made, so there's no beat. Okay, and I'm going to unmute the vocal, and we're going to have a listen to that. Yeah.
Can you change the key of the vocal and then change the key of the bass too?
Mhm.
And that kind of the pitch shifting.
Yeah. Should we do that quickly? Okay. So pitch shifting, another one of the things you have to do. So we highlight the channel that's got. I know I'm standing in front of that now. So it's kind of big. Highlight the channel that's got the vocal on it. And then you go down to the insert effects, which is down here, and you go pitch. I know you can't see it on here, but on the video you will. And you go pitch shifter 2, stereo. Okay, and you whack the mix to 100%. And if I just have that at 0, you'll notice that it sounds the same.
I remember when I lost my mind.
If we start moving the semitones,
About that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space.
yeah, now go up an octave.
Is that speeding up?
But it wasn't because I didn't know, no. I just knew too much.
That's just down 3. What you'll find is the higher you go, or the bigger the number is, so if it's -12 or +12, it starts to degrade the sound a little bit. So if you're going to do that, maybe only move it by up to -3 or +3. Yeah? Otherwise it starts to sound a bit weird. So that's how you could do the pitch shifting thing. Okay, well that's one way that you could do it. So
Is that changing key as well?
yeah. So Lizzie said, if I want to do certain chords with it, can I change the pitch of the melody to then suit the chords? And that's how you would do it.
Would it sound worse or better?
Depends. It's all about what it sounds like in context with the chords. So I'm going to bypass that, so we're back to normal. What I do to make sure that I know where what key it's in is I will open up. I'll just open up a piano or an electric piano. So. And then I'll listen to it.
I remember when I lost my mind.
And I'll find the key.
There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have
Which one sounds the nicest?
so much space. And when you're out there without care,
That one,
yeah,
right?
I was out of time.
It's in C. That's nice, isn't it? C minor though. So it's in C minor. So what I might do first is try and work out what the original chords are. Because in a remix you could still have the same chords as the original.
Can we put the relative major to it?
You could try the relative major. Might not work as well, but you can try it. You could try pushing it in slightly different places. Again, you said Lizzie earlier that with garage, with speed garage, it's a bit more crude, and you said it's a bit more grimy. So if you're doing a garage one, if you have harmonic and melodic content which clash, that's actually in character. So if we were going to go garage and you put a dirty bass line that wasn't in C and wasn't in F and wasn't in G and wasn't in E flat and it wasn't in any of the kind of keys that kind of relate, it doesn't really matter. If it sounds like a garage track, then it's going to work. So maybe we'll have a little go at that in a second as well, so I can show you the differences.
Are we working on this next lesson as well?
As in session 2? No. No. But I will give you all the bits ready for next week. So next week we'll be up there and we'll start to make things. Okay. So C minor is the first one.
I remember remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space.
Yeah, so that's the chords in their root positions: C minor, E flat major, A flat, and G. So I can choose to use the same chords if I want to. Obviously, if I change the sound, that's going to make it sound totally different anyway. Or I mean, this isn't in the original anyway, so I could use this. I could use this to make the sound if I wanted to. If we were going to go relative major, you would start on E flat, but let's try it. I have tried this before actually, and I wasn't convinced it worked.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space.
A bit too happy, isn't it?
How would it sound any different though? If you're just playing the chords that the key's in.
I could change it. So if we're still in C minor, what about if I did? This is either going to work or not work. Anyway.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space.
Yeah, so totally different.
And when you're out there without care, yeah, I was out of touch. But it wasn't because I didn't know enough. I just knew too much. Does that make me crazy?
Yeah, so that might, when you get to your second remix where you've got your own choice of genre, you might go down tempo, you might go trip hop, and then you could really turn it into a chill kind of beat.
Oh, do we not choose which genre we're remixing this to?
First remix is going to be house or speed garage. Okay, second one is free choice, but you have to know what that style is before you start. Yes, Sarah?
Can we do the same as, like the one we choose, can it be the same as the one we're doing this one? Or does it have to
No,
be-
they have to be contrasting. That's a really good question. So remix 2 has to be a different contrasting genre. Anthony?
On Remix 2, can you add your own, like, say if you were to turn it into like a hip hop song, would you be able to add your own vocals to it and use that as like a hook?
Absolutely. Yeah? Lizzie, do you have your hand up?
Yeah.
Jack, you were about to say something, or you're not sure?
My brain's rubbish, I can't remember.
Okay, it's not rubbish, it's good. Okay, so let's say we go with that one. I'm going to put that down, but this might not appear in the rest of the track. This is just to give me a kind of harmonic grounding. So if we put that in,
Is the bass?
this is the keys for now, but it's going to help me work out what the bass line's going to be.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space. And when you're out there,
Okay, it's just a 4-chord sequence over 8 bars. Again, I'm going to quantize that. Now that's going to help me. Notice that that's kind of offset with where the beats are, so I can just shift those over. And that should put it all into place. So if I start adding the beats back in.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much.
I'm going to start mixing down a little bit as well as I go. So the mix is, you can see that's down here.
I remember when I lost my
And I can pull down all of the parts of the beat at the same time. So if you click and drag over, highlight all of those elements, bring them all down. And it means that the mix between them stays the same. You just turn everything down.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space. I remember when I lost my mind.
Okay, yeah.
We're allowed to chop the sample up.
Yeah. The bit that you missed is that you can use as little or as much of this vocal as you want.
Cool.
As long as I can kind of ascertain that you are using it, and you can bring in other elements as well. But you,
Mash it up.
yeah.
So could you do a double remix and remix a different song with that?
Yeah, I mean that's again. That's kind of mashup thing, mashup style, which could be your second remix, but you would have to do that really well because it's something that I know quite a lot about. No, because it's got to be house or speed garage. So I'm looking for a unique.
No, I mean, could you like do a house track that had 2 different vocal songs on it? So like, it would be a match of the vocals, but it's the house over the top.
If you look at the brief, I'm not saying no, by the way. If you look at the brief, it's asking for a house or speed garage remix of "Crazy" by Niles Barkley.
So
Yeah. So they might not like that. They might not go for it. Yeah.
Is there a specific house genre? Going to be any subject?
Anything at all. Again, there's a resource I'm going to send out to you, which is going to be really valuable, I think, and it's going to kind of like explode the amount of subgenres that you. There's subgenres on this thing I've never heard of. Yeah, Tropical House.
That's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
I'll try.
Tropical House seems to be a really new thing. It's the first time I heard the term Tropical House was last week when you guys were telling me about it. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Okay, I'm going to go bass. I'm going to go bass. So, plus, software instrument. Have a look through the basses. I'm going to try and use stuff that you guys have here rather than doing other stuff. So, we'll find something that sounds good. And it could be that you end up layering elements of basses. That's got a nice sub into it. Yeah, we like that?
Sounds house every weekend.
Doesn't it? That sounds like old school house to me, like kind of 90s house. Okay, so this is. So I put something like that in, so you start getting a more kind of. It's like percussive in the way it does stuff. So all I'm doing is I'm hitting the root notes of the chords that I just played, but I'm giving it a little bit of that kind of boom, 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 that kind of cross rhythm thing seems to work quite nicely with house music. I might need to beef this up with something else. Let's see how it works.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space. I remember when.
Okay, needs some quantizing. Again, the amount that you put of the letter on the quantize here is going to make this groove totally differently. So if we put it on 16A.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space.
We go for like D.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that.
Got a little bit more groove to it, yeah? I'm going to just slightly change up what's going on here with this synth.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place.
Might be a bit too much actually.
Even your emotions have an echo in so much space. I remember when I lost my mind.
Okay, save. Always save. Okay, it's starting to kind of build now. For me, it needs to be some sub in there. It's not heavy enough of a bass line. It's got a nice tone to it, but it needs something deeper as well. So here's my trick for that. Open up a new instrument. Don't go to the library, not the actual library, the library on here. And where it's open an instrument for you, click and hold and open up an EXS24 stereo, or actually mono probably, doesn't really matter. And if you don't open an instrument, it's just a sine wave, which is essentially a sub bass. Okay, so if you go, it's like really, well, I can't even hear that on these speakers. Yeah, so it's just pure sine wave.
So like when you're in a car driving
Yeah.
And then could you put a release up? So if you like copy and pasted the bit that you just did, and then put the release up, it will follow the chords.
Yeah, it will follow it. So exactly what Alex has just said. I don't need to re-record anything. I'm just going to copy this bass line over. Can anyone remember how to do that?
Come on, so
There's an easier way.
Hold that, just drag it.
Yeah, you hold it. You hold one of the keys and you drag it down. It is Alt. Well done, Jack. So Alt, drag it down. You'll know it's going to do it because it said copy regions rather than move regions. Let go of the click before you let go of Alt, and then it's copied that information down to the sub as well. What you might find if you solo that, it might be in the wrong octave. Okay. So all you have to do is go up to the top again here. I know again you can't really see much.
That sounds quite cool though.
Okay. If that sounds quite cool, let's copy the instrument again. Let's do it again, and let's have one that's low. Okay, so that's the high one. So let's put sine wave high, and then this will be the sub. Okay. So for this one, go up to here, and you go to transposition, which is this one, and just go -12, maybe -24 actually. So it's like a really. I don't know why we're not hearing much of that here. That's better. So in a club, that's the kind of thing that's going to make you wobble a bit. Yeah, it's going to make you fall over.
Like, what's the brown note?
Brown note.
Depending on how big the system was, that could potentially be the brown note, one of those, okay? Got to put some warnings at the beginning of this video, I think.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo and so much.
Yeah, stop shuffling.
There's something a bit weird about like the second half beat. Like, it feels like a bit.
Do you think it's a bit too bouncy?
No, it's hunching too much. I think like it's too heavy for the rest of it.
Which bit are you talking about, Jess?
Dum, 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 ba-da-dum, dum, that
So the
bit.
high bit.
Yeah.
Okay. So what maybe what we'll do is we'll I think that's a really good point. Maybe what we'll do. So guys, I've now gone into the editor by double clicking on one of these sections, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the high notes out of the sub parts. So all these high notes here.
Is that the really basic one?
No, this is the high one at the moment.
Okay.
So we're going to get rid of all the high notes. Because it might be that because there's three things doing it, that's what's. If we keep it on one of them, it might be quite nice. So you get the kind of big sound for the first three notes, and then you take it out of the others. So let's just take that out of those as well. And what you'll find is that maybe using a different sound for parts of your bass line might help. So you might end up copying stuff over and then deleting it from one bit and deleting the other bit from a different part. So you're spreading your sound over, you're spreading your bass line over different parts. That make sense?
Sounds better.
It's more clarity, I think, isn't it?
I like that.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space.
Turned everything down because could you see that the master was peaking? It's like +5, which is bad. Okay, it's gonna colour the sound. So it's not too much bass, just too much of everything. So I highlighted everything and turned the whole mix down. Get into the habit of doing that before you start automating. Once you've automated stuff, it's really, really difficult to kind of work around that. So always try and keep your output below 0, because the very final stage will be you bringing it up to the right volume and really making it pump. Don't have to do that from word go. That's like the final stage, almost like a kind of pre-mastering thing. Yeah? Is that a hand, John? Or? No? Lizzie?
If you turn everything down in the mixer, can you still turn it up when you play it?
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place.
It's just that you're not driving it this time. You know, it's under 0. Yeah.
I was running the track on Logic 10, and when I did it, like I had like a little like piano sort of section on it, and I had to turn like to get the levels right. I had to turn everything else down and that up quite a lot, like,
Yeah.
and it was still peaking. But then if I turned it down anymore, it would just go down, like, and really bad to hear it.
Can you just go in the storeroom?
Yeah, that's fine. Come on through, Luke. What you might find, Anthony, is that you've still got to turn everything else down. You want to try and keep all of your instruments below 0. Yeah? If you've got stuff +1, +6, that's not very good. You want to try and keep everything underneath 0. Okay? And then you can crank it later. Okay, so we've got... Yes, Ajit?
Real quick, when it comes to like bouncing and the tracks below 0, I keep finding that like the track isn't that loud. Like compared to if I was playing like something in iTunes and then my track just doesn't compare.
Yeah, so it's that last, and I'll try and get to doing a little bit of that in this session. There's a final stage that you can put onto it on the master, which will then really pump it. Okay, it will never get exactly the same as something from iTunes because that's been mastered properly, and we're not doing that. So, okay, let's. Oh, I've done the wrong one here. Time stretch. Didn't do that, did I? Pitch shift instead.
And you did audio.
Audio processing we did, yeah. Okay. While we're kind of building the groove, I want to show you sidechain processing. Okay? So sidechain compressing is something that a lot of house music does. So what I want to do is I'm going to turn my electric piano. In fact, I'm not going to turn it. I'm going to make a copy of it. So I've still got the reference one. I'm going to turn that into a synthesizer. Let's have a look. Get a nice sound for that, like a synth pad sound. What's that? Bring the attack down a little bit. There's a strange resonance there as well.
How did you get that up?
I just chose it. It was in oh, that. If you want to get the instrument up, double click the blue instrument down here, and whatever it is, it will come up and you'll be able to change all the parameters. Yeah, so that's not bad. It's quite like that. Quite interesting.
Is that the bass?
No, that's the chords. I've just kind of transferred it to a pad. Okay, so again, this is probably a watch back on the video thing to really get this. Okay, I'm going to make a copy of the kick drum, and I'm going to name that sidechain. No, yeah, sidechain Dave. We can call it sidechain Dave for you. That's absolutely fine. Sidechain Dave. Jave. And what I do, so to name a track, all you're doing is where it says, where it's already got its name, like Digital Light, Paris House Kick, just double click and then you can rename everything, that's fine. And when if you can see that little hand over the top of the name, if you click and drag, you can move it out of the way, so you can move it to the top. So the side chain is kind of out of the way, so you know it's a side chain. Right? You could also colour it differently if you wanted to.
How do you colour it?
Highlight it, go to colours up here. So, should we find a nice brown? There we go. So we know it's different, yeah? We know that it's something different, okay? And then what you have to do is you have to send it to a bus. Not a bus like this, a bus like a group, okay? So what you'll start to do, the more kind of stuff you do on Logic, you'll start to group things so that you can then affect them at the same time. So rather than having 10 reverbs the same on 10 different channels, you bus 10 channels to one channel and then you put one reverb on it. So it saves processor, it saves time, it saves you having to open all these different things. For this is just a way of getting it to work properly. So underneath the instrument it says stereo out, which means it's going straight to the master output. If you click and hold it, there's a list of buses as long as your arm. Put it into bus 1 because we haven't used any yet. And then what's really important is you have to mute. So this now becomes the bus 1 channel here, and you have to mute it. Okay, so you're not going to hear that bass drum. It's going to affect things. So that's the first part. Go back to the synth that I've just made, and you need to make a compressor. So down here on your inserts, go to dynamics, go to compressor, go to stereo. You then need to take the attack down, take the release down, take the auto off, bring the ratio all the way up, knee all the way down, and the threshold all the way down. Put the limiter on. Okay, we will do this. This is all on the video, remember. So this is the bit where you just watch it and watch it and watch it, and then you're going to get it.
You record it?
Yeah, yeah. The whole thing's going to be on YouTube.
This is what you're doing exactly now?
Yep. You speaking there, and me, that what I just said then, and this speaking, is going to be on the video.
No.
And that.
You're not cutting it up? It's just
No.
Oh,
Straight through.
Hello, YouTube.
Hello. Up here, sidechain says none at the moment. You need to make that bus 1. And then what you'll start to see, I might have to touch down a little bit. What you'll start to see is that the compressor, rather than just squashing the sound, it's actually being triggered by the kick drum. See that? That's the kick drum coming in and out. So if you listen, so if we just solo those 2 bits, hear it pumping. That's because the bass drum is making the compressor duck on the beat. And that just becomes a nice texture to add to it. It doesn't have to be very loud in the mix for that part. And it might be that that's, we need to take the release down a little bit.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space. And when you're out there without care, yeah, I was out of touch. But it wasn't because I didn't know enough. I just knew too much. Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy?
Okay, so it's starting to sound a lot more full now, yeah? So like I said at the beginning, we are trying to make the biggest part first, and then we can start to strip it back.
So what's this bit? The actual chorus.
I'd say this is probably the chorus. This is the kind of the big chorus bit. Is when you start stripping it down. So if we then took out, doesn't help that I haven't named these yet. So you should probably name stuff as you go. That's kick drum. That's hats, isn't it?
How do you turn it on?
Okay, I'll do that next. So what you might want to do when you get to a kind of verse bit or a breakdown bit is to just start muting sections out. So you might want to get rid of the hats, get rid of the basses, so you know you've got this kind of thing.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space. And when you're out there without care, yeah, I was out of touch.
So you can start to work out where things are going to sit, okay? Okay. I'm not saying this is not the only way to do it, but this is the way I would do it, and it's the way I would recommend to do it. Maybe it is the quicker way, yeah. Okay, so let's talk about making things into real copies. So highlight anything that's looped, and then go up to region, which is this kind of sub-menu, loops, convert to real copies. Everything becomes its own little part then.
Is that when you can start deleting them?
Yep. At this moment, I would say don't delete, mute.
Can you just click on the tab and mute?
Yep, just click on any section, press M, and it goes away. Yeah?
They go grey.
Yep. So let's say we wanted to start, where's the chorus? Is that here?
We crave.
So let's say that we are going to start with just the kick, no basses. We're going to bring in the claps here. I'm going to take out the synths at that point.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space. And when you're out there without care, yeah, I was out of touch. But it wasn't because I didn't know enough. I just knew too much. Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Possibly. And I hope that you are having the time of your life.
So you just start to flesh out the arrangement as you go. Anthony.
When you like want to have that drop bit, like, so sometimes like cut out, would you do that on the end bit of the bar before it drops, or would you add another like one bar?
It depends. It's a really good question. It depends. So traditionally, the way that kind of sequencing for house music works is that it works in bars of 16, or it works in kind of groups of 32, and it would all happen within that 16-bar loop. But what's happening more now, to add more kind of tension, is that they're adding an extra bar or they're taking away an extra bar. So it depends on the genre, to be honest. So let's say that I was going to let's say that this first verse is actually a breakdown, and then we're going to go into the chorus kind of hard. So what I might do is, let's say we're going to take out. Okay, I'm going to start doing stuff quite quickly, and I'll try and explain as we go, alright? So what I'm going to attempt to do is start off with the kick drum like we had for that verse, and then we're going to kind of break it down into not much at all, and then it's going to kind of ramp up into the chorus. Okay? It's funny. Nothing, okay. Don't know, you were laughing. Just happy. Yes, Sarah?
So when you bounce all of that and it's finished, do you leave those muted or do you delete them?
Just mute them. Yeah. When you bounce it, all you're saying is everything that you can hear, put in the bounce. So I like doing it this way because then if you change your mind, you can change the edit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the claps, because one of the things that I like to do to help open up sections is to have a clap through a reverb. So I'm going to delete all the claps except for the last one. Yeah, I'm going to delete them. And I'm going to put a big reverb on this channel. So I'm going into Space Designer, which is the best reverb on Logic 9, and I'm going to go for a large sound. What's good? What's nice? Bright Cathedral. That's going to be quite big. So if I listen to this on its own, it should be quite shimmering. Okay, so that kind of makes it quite atmospheric for me. I'm also going to take the synth, and I'm going to do another version of that, and I'm going to take all the top end out of it. So it's going to be like quite a muddy sound. So when we get there.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space. And when you're out there without care, yeah, I was out of touch. But it wasn't because I didn't know enough. I just knew too much. Does that make me crazy?
Okay. So I need to do like a riser into it as well. It does work, yeah. This is what I was saying. It's quite a dirty a cappella, but actually I think it's going to work in everyone's favour. Okay, so I'm going to teach you how to make something else. I'm going to teach you how to do a white noise riser. No, it's the bit that goes.
That's the one that's like it goes up the scale and it's like
We can, I won't do that now, but I can show you that another time.
Can you go the opposite way, so instead of going up, you go down?
You can, but it makes sense to build the tension by making it bigger. Okay? So, new channel. This is another one where you ignore the library and you go straight down here and you use an ES1. Okay? If you do an ES1, don't get scared by it. We looked at this actually in DAW. We had to use an ES1, didn't we? Okay. One of the oscillators has a white noise thing. It's the second one down here. Again, can't quite see it on the projector, but you will do. And ES1 has two sounds, two oscillators. You've got the top one here and the bottom one. We only want the bottom one, so you move the mix to nothing. All right. And then what you do is you open up the cutoff, which means you get the whole sound, and you bring all these things to 0. Again, when you see the video, it will start to make more sense. This is going to sound really nasty on its own. Okay, so bear with me on this one. Start from bar 17 and just play and hold a note.
Wasn't because I didn't know enough. I just knew too much. Does that make me crazy?
Opposite. Yeah, not. Okay, quantize it. What you can also do on this one is use the side chain to help you as well, to give it that kind of pump. So whack a compressor on this channel. Send it to the same place. It's fine. So we bring the attack down, bring that down, bring the ratio up, bring the knee down, bring the threshold down. Put it to bus 1. So same as what we did for the synth. It's okay. You can see it on the video. I know I'm working fast, but it's because I'm conscious of the time. So you'll start to see that hopefully pumping.
Oh no. I just
Hear it doing its thing? Okay, so that's half of the battle done. How do we bring up the automation? A, good. Okay. And we're going to choose down here, get rid of volume, we are going to choose the cutoff from the ES1 and we're going to write that in. So it finishes at 100% and it starts at 0. And this is what's going to give it that rise.
But it wasn't because I didn't know enough. I just knew too much. Does that make me crazy?
Okay?
Can you just play again? No.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space. And when you're out there without care, yeah, I was out of touch. But it wasn't because I didn't know enough. I just knew too much. Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Does that...
Okay?
This is actually quite a good song. It's really annoying how you just made this.
Okay, let's... Audio processing we're happy with, aren't we? So we're adding stuff to the main vocal. Let's do time stretch quick, and then we'll do a tape stop as well, and then we'll have a look at what's the other thing I want to show you guys. We'll look at cutting stuff up again. Right, so time stretching. This can be quite subtle in the remix, and it relies on you kind of finding a bit that you like and stretching it or compressing it. Okay, yeah.
How can you tell?
Which bit you like?
No.
Oh, sorry. My bad. Because all of these things on the checklist you are going to do screenshots of. and put in a document for me and say, this is where I did this, this is where I did this, this is where I did this. So hopefully I'll be able to hear it, but if not, I've got that as a bit of supplementary evidence. Okay. Let's find.
So you can like, take a picture and make a remix, and then send you nothing, and you'd be like, well, this is evidence that you did try and make a remix.
Well, I'll need the bounce as well to be able to, yeah.
And when you're out there without caring, I just knew too much.
So let's say I'm going to take.
I just knew too.
Let's say I'm going to take that bit. So cut it, make a copy. That's interesting. Why are you not flexing? Okay, so I like this bit.
I just knew too much.
It's actually taken the flex off that, which is annoying, but it doesn't matter because we're gonna change it. So I want to take the much bit, so I can edit that bit. Hello. So if I wanted to time stretch, does anyone know how to do this? Someone done it before? Okay. It's not just about dragging it. So at the moment, it's got that particular cursor with the little kind of like, whatever it is, like a brackets kind of thing. And if you drag it, it will just open up the audio file to show you more of it. What you need to do is press Alt. Alt is our friend again, okay? Press Alt, and it changes it very slightly, and you see these kind of little things coming off of the cursor. And then if you hold down Alt and then you drag it, it stretches it. Okay, so then you get this. Okay, again, if you're doing garage, that is a big kind of thing that you can do. You can take whole phrases and stretch them to infinity, and that is part of what they do. For me, I might not use that in this house remix. I might have to be quite clever how I use it, but that is, oh, that's not good. That is the, that's the process. It will work the other way as well. So if I wanted to make it smaller, Alt, drag it the other way, and it will, yeah. Yeah, go away Google, thank you. So that's, is everyone happy with the process? Yeah, how you might do that in a house song, you might have to be a bit kind of careful.
How would you get it? It's like like when it's like much. Like the first, so it's like really fast.
When?
You know, like it's like I just need to.
Oh, you can just loop it. So if you take so for instance, if we take again, if we took that little bit and then took the much bit, you can just loop it like you would loop something else. Again, underneath, that actually might work quite nicely. We might have to pitch it up a little bit, but you can kind of get all these kind of happy accidents. So I think that's going to have to be.
I just knew too much. 'Cause that made me cry.